Hello, hello, everybody. Welcome to this Facebook Live and the Intuitive Life Academy. Welcome. We are jumping in today to talk about your soul path to millions. And what does it take to be the person who knows how to create that? So, as you come to join me, folks, and as you're listening to this, I really want you to allow yourself the gift of putting your rational critical mind to the side and letting the infinite intelligence inside of you really receive what I'm going to say. Because this is really for your soul. And if you were just living from your soul, you would be creating everything that you desire. Because your soul, of course, is high frequency. High frequency is high awareness. High frequency creates the outcomes that you want. But of course, as a human, you have your soul and your spirit. So that's what we're going to, sorry, your ego. So that's what we're going to dive into today and talk about how to navigate your inner world to create your reality. I'm just going to bring up my app on my phone because sometimes I don't see comments, and it's always a good idea to make sure I can. If you're joining, do say hi. Because what does it take, folks, to be the person who is living from your infinite intelligence? If you're not sure what your infinite intelligence is, the infinite intelligence is currently beating your heart. So when you take your attention into your heart, and every time your heart beats, there's an electric, right, field around you that's created from your heartbeat. It's known as your electromagnetic field. That field has a frequency. Everything that you think, everything that you feel, every thought that you have, every meaning that you attribute is impacting and creating your frequency. Right? And when you go out into the world, your frequency is determining what you're attracting. So, your thoughts, if you've ever listened to the Intuitive Abundance podcast, you'll know this. Your thoughts are electric and your feelings are magnetic. So, what you're thinking about, you're sending out into the field, and how you're feeling is attracting it back to you. And we all know that when we feel good, we're feeling more God. And when we don't feel good, we are in lower frequencies. So you're in more of an ego state rather than a soul state. And if you want your life to take off, if you want your world to explode, if you want your business to blow up, if you want to start living your dream lifestyle, you're going to learn what it takes to listen to this infinite intelligence inside of you. It's not out there, like there is local and non local intuition, but to start taking your attention inwards so you know what is for you. Now, you may be very aware of your intuition, your inner guidance already, but maybe it's worthwhile exploring what that relationship is like for you. Because people are often at different stages in their intuition. And I'll tell you where I'm at in my relationship with my intuition. I listen to my intuition all day long. Right? I have aligned myself to listen to spirit. Right? I'm thinking more about heaven than I am about reality. And how does that show up in relationship to creating what it is that I want? It puts me in a high frequency. And in that high frequency, I get to create what I desire. Why? Because I am very good at having mastered fear. Some people also refer to that as the ego, the lower selves, the part of us that holds fear. Like the ego is where all your negative emotions come from. And your emotions were given to you as a guidance system. So when you understand this guidance system, like negative emotion, oh, I'm going out of alignment with the mind of God, with how God thinks, with how the universe operates. When I feel good, I am aligned to the mind of God, to how the universe operates. Now, it can be very easy for the ego to go, oh, I'm doing it wrong if I feel bad. No, what's the correct response to that? It's to love yourself. But often what happens for people is they're living from their head, right? And you've already created a lot of success from your head. You've gone out, you've gone to school, you've gone to university, you've gone and done a degree, you've gone and got the accolades, you've gone and done the achievements, and you've lived from your head and you've created a lot. But on some level, I can guarantee you're probably wondering, maybe not even consciously, you're kind of feeling or leaning into, I don't really feel fully alive. I have all this success, maybe, and maybe I've created a certain level of wealth, but I'm looking for a deeper level of fulfillment. That is where your infinite intelligence comes in. And this is when your soul starts calling to you. And it starts saying things like, whether you're consciously aware of it or not, you're going to be feeling that yearning in your body, the part of you that knows that there's so much more than what you are currently experiencing. So to be this person who's showing up and learning what it is to take your power back from reality. This is so important to understand because I see people do this all day, every day, folks, right? Which is they give their power away to reality. They say the government's out there, somebody else is out there, something else is happening, and I don't have any control. And you do, because reality is subjective. What does that mean? It means you're creating it by how you choose to see it. Right? To be this person who is understanding that you are so much more powerful than you're giving yourself credit for. And guess what? If you're listening to this from your soul, your body is going to be resonating, right, with what I'm saying, because your soul always desires expansion, right? It's always looking for more because the universe is always expanding. So it's actually natural for you as a human to expand into more and more and more potential. But what happens for people, right, is they get stuck in the minutiae of day-to-day reality. They create a to-do list and they adhere to the do list, and then they do that to-do list every single day, and then they get to the end of the day, the end of the day, the end of the day, and they're like, where is my life? Why am I not experiencing the joy that I desire? Why am I not experiencing more fulfillment? What's happening in my relationships where it doesn't feel like it's really intimate, or there's not enough connection, or I don't feel like I'm getting what I need? Right? To be this person who then shifts from being operating in the mind to learning how to live from your soul and to trust this, not as a form of spiritual entertainment, as I see out there, but actually honoring yourself to such a deep degree that you know that you have all the wisdom inside of you to unlock your full potential. You're actually your own individual cosmos. You are your own planet, right? Consciousness, source energy, God, whatever you want to call it, Buddha, Allah, whatever you name it, is experiencing itself through you. That means that you're like a thumbprint of the universe, right? Of God. Life is experiencing itself through you. And you're the one who determines what unfolds. And you are going to feel lit up, blissful, amazing, incredible. You're going to feel a feeling that you can only experience by coming into alignment with God, by listening to your intuition. If you feel like your life is flat or a little boring or a little off, then I can guarantee you're not having a deep dialogue with your intuition on a regular basis. You are probably listening to your mind. Right? And again, I want to share with you because I'm so excited that Intuitive Mastery is here again. Intuitive Mastery is my signature program, which is to help you to learn how to know what is for you, not for other people, because your version of success might look completely different to mine or somebody else's or the next person, because your version of success might be having the time and the freedom to travel with your family. Another person might be, their version of success might be to live in a log cabin in the forest next to a beautiful river. Right? Everybody's version of success looks different. That is why nobody out there can really tell you what is for you, but spirit can. Because remember, you are this individual, but spirit is so much bigger, right? Like your soul is bigger than your body, and spirit is where we actually all connect collectively. So we're all connected through spirit. And if you are listening to spirit, spirit, which sees everything, can connect you to outcomes so quickly it'll make your head spin. Like really, when you start working with your intuition, a lot of the time people can feel like it's like magic. And it's not magic at all. What it is alignment. Alignment feels like magic because it feels so good in your physical body, right? And if you've had difficult things in your reality, high frequency energy can heal it so quickly, right? If you have physical aches and pains, which is often unprocessed emotion or a psychic warning sign from your body, you can have the ability and develop the ability to go into it and ask questions, shift energy, and be back in alignment. And I've shared lots of different stories. Like one even the other day, like I had a little bit of energy in my knees. My knees are a little bit sore walking up the stairs the other day. I tuned in and I asked about it, shifted some energy. No pain in my knees anymore. You get to live in that kind of reality. You know, like obviously I've just come back from an amazing trip away. How did I create that? Because I follow my intuition. My intuition was like Naxos, right, which is an island in the Greek islands, right? And I'd never been there before. I went there, I had the best time. I was like, the vibes here are incredible because my intuition knows more than my rational mind. But often what happens for people is they're allowing their rational mind to lead. They're not listening to this infinite intelligence that they're living in. They're giving their power away to reality. I want you to understand that your reality is less than 1% of all the light frequency. Because your physical eye cannot see all the different frequencies of light. And just take a moment to orientate to that. Reality is less than 1%. I'm looking at less than 1%. And I'm making decisions on that less than 1%. But if you start operating like all this light frequency around me, which is heaven frequency, where your angels and guides reside, where your deceased loved ones are, when you start operating, when you open up the veil between this reality and the universe, which is the true reality, because you're a human having a physical experience, then you start operating from a greater power proposition. You start becoming a person who can click their fingers and call in money because you know how powerful you are. You start becoming a person who finds the solution to every problem. Every problem. You become the frequency that is a match to all you desire. Your biggest problem becomes, how good can I handle it? Because that's as good as it gets. When you understand frequency, which is creating your reality right now, you open the doors to a different realm of being. So let's unpack frequency for a minute because I've talked about it before, but frequency is made up, right, of your thoughts, especially emotionally charged thoughts, but your emotions, your beliefs, your level of conviction and certainty in your creations, your perspective, and obviously your moods, etc. All of this combined makes up your frequency. And really, if you break it down, it's like, who am I being? Who am I? What do I stand for? What is the energy I am emitting? Is it love or is it fear based? Because this is what happens for people. People feel like reality is bigger than they are, and it's not. I want you to understand this. Reality is responding to who you are being. Reality is responding to who you are being. So if you are being calm, peaceful, which are states of being, abundant, blissful, reality has no choice but to reflect more of that back to you. A lot of times people can feel like life is punishing them, but it's not, right? It's just reflecting to them who they're being. This is why in your ideal reality, there's no beating yourself up. There's no self-attack. There's no self-judgment. There's no judgment towards others because you get it, right? You get that everything is connected. You get that when you're looking at reality, reality is looking at you. So you're the one who's determining what happens next. And stepping into your spiritual leadership is really about going into the next level of taking responsibility for yourself. If you're prepared to take responsibility for yourself, the light and the dark, and love them both equally, then you're going to see miracles in your life. And here's the crazy thing, folks, miracles are normal. Miracles are normal. If you're not experiencing miracles in your life, something is out of alignment. If you're not experiencing your ideal reality, reality doesn't need to change. You do. You need to shift your frequency to match your ideal reality. Now, why is this hard? It's not hard, right? That's your ego saying it's hard. And if you let your ego say that it's hard, it will be hard, right? Your ego is fear-based, folks. So a lot of the work, like when you're listening to spirit, things can move so quickly. You can heal yourself, you can heal emotionally, you can heal physically, you can pour money into your life, you can meet your ideal person, you can create your dream reality, you can go on the next trip, you can buy your dream house when you're listening to your intuition. But of course, the work isn't necessarily spirit, it's managing your ego. Because your ego, excuse my French, it's going to cock block you, right? It's going to stop you from creating the outcomes that you want because it's afraid. And your ego is only interested in your safety. It's not interested in you thriving and having your best life ever. It's interested in your safety. If you get to the end of the day and you are relatively safe, the ego gives itself a pat on the back and goes, good job, right? But your dream life is not in that place. This is why we can get stuck in kind of a routine, which feels safe for the ego because the ego knows what's going to happen next. Right? The ego's like, oh, you're going to go that way to work. That makes me feel safe because I know that. Oh, you're going to have that meeting with that person. I know what they're like, even if I don't like them, right? But I know what to expect, and that makes me feel safe. So this is how we can get caught in routine and then wonder why we're not feeling the way that we prefer. If you feel like things have got a little bit robotic, you're probably operating from your head because spirit is inviting you into your body to live from your body. I mean, just take a moment to ask yourself, where is most of my orientation? Because life unfortunately does teach us to live from our head. And I'm super sorry if you've said a comment, folks, and I haven't said anything, because I can't see the comments. So I'm just going to continue on. So understanding, folks, that your power is not out there. This is what the ego does. I need to learn the next thing. I need to know more information. I need to do this. You need to embody and to create a relationship with yourself where you are listening to yourself and you have so much confidence in yourself that it's easy to follow through on your intuitive guidance, because your intuitive guidance is always going to take you slightly outside of your comfort zone. And we all know that that's where the magic is. But this is what it looks like to be a leader, right? To be the person who's like, nothing out there is more powerful than you. So there's nothing to be afraid of, because no matter what happens, I can access the frequency to find the solution from who I'm being, because I'm choosing to be a person who overcomes any kind of obstacle. I'm choosing to be a person who is more powerful than reality. I'm choosing to be a person that no matter what presents itself, I will be the version of myself energetically first, because everything is created in vibration first, who finds the solution. But that is a journey of deep self trust. And maybe even from what I've already said, you might be noticing where your relationship with self isn't lined up as well as it could be. One thing that I see for a lot for people is people ignore what needs to be looked at. Right? And one of those places, of course, is where people often have fear of their own negative emotion. When you work with spirit, you see emotion kind of like on the spectrum, right? Like all the different emotions that all humans have and all humans experience, it's the same spectrum, right? So it's all lovable, no matter whether it's a good feeling or a not so good feeling. You can bring love to negative emotion. In fact, that's exactly what it needs: love, compassion, acceptance. When you have that skill set, when negative emotion doesn't frighten you, you actually move into it and go deeper and sit with it and be with it and learn how to do that. Your frequency is going to go through the roof. And when you do that, when you have that, when you create that, your life takes off, because then you become fearless. Because any emotion inside of yourself that you have witnessed, that you've had the courage to witness, that you've had the love and compassion to witness, if you see it inside of somebody else, you're okay with it. What happens when you get triggered, right? When somebody says something to you and it triggers you, like you have an emotional reaction to it. What is a trigger? It's a negative emotional reaction to something that somebody said or done. That's a gift, folks, right? That's an invitation from spirit to upgrade your power proposition if you know how to handle it. Right, this is the beautiful thing. I love it. I love it so much, folks, to know that you can take any shitty situation and alchemize it into more light. If you want to manifest fast, like mind-blowingly fast, you will cultivate more light in your vessel. How do you do that? You need to look at the dark, right? You need to look at the aspects of self that are looking for your love and support. You need to have compassion for yourself. You need to be willing to see all of yourself, because that way you're free. One of the things, right, that we do talk about in intuitive mastery is looking at things like shame, which a lot of people run away from, right? They're like, no way do I want to look at that. But when you feel safe and when shame is released, again, your frequency goes through the roof. And then you're not afraid, right? Because nobody can shame you anymore because you've released it. This is the kind of work that takes you into a hugely powerful place where you walk into the room and the energy shifts just because of who you're being. You don't even need to open your mouth, and that frequency will shift. Most of the people on the planet, folks, are living in a certain degree of fear. And what most people don't understand is they are projecting onto reality. This is why, folks, when you might have noticed, like I don't use the words like matrix, for example, a lot in my work, because the matrix is a projection from the mind. And if you're projecting something onto reality, you really want to check, is that making me feel more powerful or disempowered? Because if it's making you feel disempowered, you don't want to do that. One of the things that people struggle with the most is feeling disempowered, like I can't create what I want. And of course, when you are creating what you want, you don't even think like that. That doesn't even enter your consciousness. And that's quite a significant shift in frequency, right? To go from a person who is saying, I can't create what I want, life sucks, same old, and you're projecting that out onto your reality. And then reality has no choice but to reflect that back to you because that's who you're being. To learn how to shift that so you move into a higher frequency and you're like, I get everything that I want. And then reality has no choice but to reflect that back to you. That is golden. And that's the invitation, right? That is the invitation of intuitive mastery. It's not going to come from listening to your rational mind, right? Your mind has a tendency to overthink, right? Your mind has a tendency to tell you stories. Have you even noticed? I've called it Lassie before, where Lassie just runs across a field, like you're just minding your own business. And then all of a sudden, Lassie has run across 3 fields, and you're like, what just happened? Like my mind just went off into a different direction. Or, those moments where you have an intrusive thought and you're like, oh my God, the mind is not the place that you want to go to create inside of yourself. You want to go to your infinite intelligence. You've probably heard this before. You're not your mind. You're not your body. You're not your thoughts. You are the consciousness that is observing. That is the true you. And when you cultivate a relationship with that, when you start developing rapport and trust and start asking yourself the consciousness inside of you questions, you're going to get answers. Now, they're not going to come in a sentence because the energy speaks in energy, frequency, and vibration. So you have to kind of learn a different language to be able to hear your intuition really easily and really clearly. The good news is you're already doing it to a certain extent. You already know when you walk into a room, it has a certain vibration. You already know when you're talking to somebody, right, and they tell you that they're fine, and you're like, no, you're not. You can feel it, right, in their energy. Now, you might be clairaudient, where you hear things, or a song on the radio really speaks to you, or you hear a snippet of information, or you hear things. You might be clairsentient, which is what I am. I feel it in my body. Like when I'm doing an energy clearing on somebody, which is what I teach people to do in intuitive mastery, I can feel it in my body. Like I will feel the sensation like in my gut and my liver, and then I will guide them to that to open up the energy, right? So if you want to learn what I do for a living, folks, that's what intuitive mastery is all about. It's not about learning more, it's about embodying. It's about being. It's about cultivating a relationship with yourself. And you don't really need a textbook for that, but there are awarenesses that are going to support you in regards to going deeper into that relationship. Because truly, I think a lot of the time, people feel separate from their desires, and that's actually not a natural state of being. Your natural state of being as infinite intelligence is to create the outcomes that you prefer, is to be able to manifest money that quickly, is to live in a frequency where you do get what you want. And if there's energy in the way of that, that needs to be shifted. Because oftentimes for people, it can be like, oh, I've tried that before and I'm so disappointed, right? So I never get what I want. That needs to be collapsed because it's going to keep you in a place of separation constantly. Like if you feel like you're here and your desires are over here, you need to know how to close the gap. Developing your intuition is what closes the gap because you start accessing different frequency. You start accessing a higher level of intelligence. Thank you, universe. My intuition very kindly just brought it to my awareness, right? That a lot of people are afraid of their own power. But you're actually not, right? You're not afraid of your power, folks, because your power is your connection to source energy. That is true power. Your connection, your awareness, spirit talking to you, telling you what the next step is, that's true power. There is nothing more powerful on the earth plane. Like life force energy, sexual energy, same thing, right? Feeling fully alive, same thing, right? This infinite intelligence that is speaking to you moment to moment to moment, but 9 times out of 10 people are ignoring it and then wondering why they're not creating the outcomes that they want. When you cultivate a relationship with this, your power goes through the roof. Now, the only thing that feels uncomfortable with that is your ego, because your ego's like, am I going to lose friends? Are people not going to love me if I actually become really wealthy? If I become super rich? No, no, no. You're just going to be in a different frequency. Now, the people who want to shift into a different frequency will still love you and meet you there, but some people who don't, they don't want to do that. A lot of people are afraid of their power, which means that they're afraid of the infinite intelligence inside of themselves that beats their heart. They're afraid of themselves. There is no separation between you and God. Let that land for a minute, because the brain and the ego love to put God out there, right? No, no, God's right here. That infinite intelligence knows you better than yourself. That infinite intelligence has been with you on every other lifetime that you've experienced. That infinite intelligence knows stuff about you that you don't even let yourself see. Which is why one of my favorite questions is always, show me what it is that I cannot see, because your ego will stop you from seeing stuff if it deems it to be unsafe. Oh my God, that means your life will go through the roof. Let's keep you in this place of safety, which is familiar. So, your ability to trust the universe has a corresponding effect on how far you're going to go in your reality, how much fulfillment and satisfaction you're going to experience. Right? And again, money is just a side effect of high frequency, folks. And I know I had some feedback a wee while ago from somebody talking about, oh, it seems like everybody in the spiritual world is just talking about money. Money's just a side effect, folks. What we're looking to do is to embody frequency. Because when you have embodied frequency, money no longer becomes a problem, because you know you can create it just like that. It's not a problem. You've got to a place in your reality where you trust yourself and trust God and your infinite nature more than money. A lot of people are still doing money out of obligation, sacrifice. That is an abundance blocker. If you're doing money because you feel like you have to, I can guarantee you now that Spirit will be calling you and has got multiple different ways that you can open up portals to create more, so you can live more in alignment with what lights you up and turns you on. The only thing that's stopping you is your relationship with Spirit and your belief system. And if your belief system does not serve you, it needs to be imploded, right? So you can create a new one, so you can live a reality that is mind-blowing, right? How have I created what it is that I wanted in my reality? By getting out of my own way, by releasing my limiting beliefs, by aligning deeper and deeper and deeper into my intuition, by knowing that I am responsible for all my outcomes. Not even Spirit, right? Like, I have to be the one who says, yes, I want that. Yes, I'm going to do that. Yes, I'm going to step into that. Yes, I'm having that. Yes, I'm deciding. Because this is the thing about intuition. The universe gave you free will. So you can live your whole life without fully activating your intuition. That's a choice that you can make. You can live from your rational mind if you want to. Can you automatically feel how that goes into density, goes into heaviness? Living from your mind is like trying to get into a car through the exhaust pipe, right? It is hard work and it's going to be not pleasant. Right? If you want to live in a place where you're experiencing joy, happiness, you're like mainlining high frequency energy and you're living in the energy of like, what else is possible? Oh my goodness, this is so good. How good can this get? Oh my God, my life is incredible. You'll start listening to your intuition. Joy is the standard when you live from your intuition. You get to live from that place, you get to live from that frequency. Not everybody's choosing that. And this is why I want you to listen to this from your soul, because your soul will feel the frequency of what I'm talking about. Your soul knows. It's always your ego, folks, that blocks you from living your dreams. Nothing else, because there's nothing outside of you that is more powerful than you. It's always you versus you. And you know the story of the two wolves. Who are you going to feed? Are you going to feed spirit, or are you going to allow your fear to control you? That's the choice at the end of the day. I'm going to choose to be more powerful than fear. I'm going to choose to handle anything. I'm going to choose to be in a container where I learn how to do that so I can live from my soul, so I can live from spirit, so I can activate the desires that the universe gave me. What you desire, folks, if it is a true soul desire, desires you. What you want wants you. So that means that when you're living in a higher frequency, you don't have to chase it. It's going to chase you. You just have to align to the frequency. Isn't that wild? Like that you get to lean back, especially as a woman, right? And relax and receive more. Like these are the kind of insider energetic secrets that people who are making wild money on the internet do not share freely, folks. Because once you understand energetics, you understand reality. And until you know yourself as more powerful than reality, you're always going to feel controlled by it. So the choice, the invitation, is to step into your limitless intelligence and live from that place. And also, too, that is a healing journey often with the God of your own heart. Because if you've had disappointment, if you've had trauma, if you've had negative experiences, you can be holding that and it can be causing resentment in your relationship with your infinite intelligence. You need to get your human experience of your emotions and having an ego, because there's nothing wrong with ego, right? But it just makes it difficult for you to live in a high frequency. But we need to embody that. We don't need to push it away and separate it. That's what ego is doing already. We bring it together, we love it, we bring great compassion, and we rise together. So, folks, and as you know, right, like life is changing really fast, right? You know, it's really interesting. I was thinking about it yesterday about how authenticity in a world of artificial intelligence, I can guarantee, because this is what happens, right? Have you ever noticed this about things that happen? They can often happen in cycle. When something's new, often people are really enamored by it. They're like, oh my goodness, this is incredible. Start using it. And with artificial intelligence as well, everything becomes the same. There is no authenticity in that, because the universe didn't come here to experience you being exactly like the person next to you or expressing yourself the same way. It came to experience your unique perspective. And if there's one thing that developing your intuition does, it invites you into going deeper into all of who you are. Your peccadillos, your idiosyncrasies, your weirdness, your quirks. It's inviting you to embrace more of that. Because what's going to happen with AI is eventually people are going to be like, oh my God, where is the authenticity? Where is the uniqueness? Where are the people who are genuinely being themselves? We're kind of whitewashing ourselves by adhering to this. So, as a business owner, as a guide, as a mentor, your ability to be more of yourself is one of the most powerful things you can actually do at this time. Because, yes, it might be on the swing where everybody's interested in that, but I can guarantee you it's going to swing around the other way, and people are going to be looking for people to guide them. They're going to be looking for that connection that you can't get from a computer program. So, you being the most powerful version of yourself is exactly what the world needs. You embracing yourself in your totality, you shining your light, you developing your psychic gifts, which were given to you by the universe. Right, with clients I've worked with, I had a lovely conversation yesterday with a client. Like when she did intuitive mastery, she stepped in having the idea that she thought she was going to do counseling. I could see immediately that that was not was for her, but at the same time, you also let people come to the awareness themselves because that's what a good guide does, right? And I had a conversation with her yesterday. Guess what she's doing? Mediumship. She's talking to dead people, right? And it was so funny because we had this conversation about how that's not counseling, but it kind of is in a different way. Because when you have the ability to connect somebody with somebody who's passed over the other side, the amount of healing that it can bring to people, the amount of comfort that it can bring to people is extraordinary, right? So, mediumship is one of the modules in intuitive mastery. Right? We do other things like accessing the Akashic records so you can look at your past, parallel, and future lives. We help you to activate your psychic abilities so you can walk into the room and read the energy and make decisions accordingly. So you can see a business opportunity and see if it's going to bring you profit or not. Right? If you want to be able to create your future using your psychic gifts, intuitive mastery is for you. Pre-sale pricing is out today, folks. So it is a no-brainer. There's 5 days in terms of like the value of this program is like almost 30,000 US dollars with what it has contained in it. And I can't even think what the percentage is, but I've shared the link. Go and have a look, find out more information. And there's very generous payment plans, folks. One of the things I often get feedback from, I'd love to do this, but I'm not available to be able to invest in it right now. I have a payment plan for people who need it, which is over 18 months. Like, this is literally a no-brainer, folks. Like, I have lowered the bar, so it's so easy to step over. It is not funny. And if you are an alumni watching this, it is a no-brainer as well. You've still got 12 months to pay. And I have a special offer for you if you're alumni, so come to me directly. If you are not living your ideal reality, you need to shift, not reality. Because guess what, folks? If you don't shift, reality can't shift because you are creating it. This is why people get so frustrated and they feel powerless, right? They're like, why am I experiencing the same shit every day? Because you're being the same person. I know that sounds kind of tough, but it's true. Like you're being the same person. You are being the same person. You're having the same thoughts. You're doing the same things. You're thinking the same things. So therefore, but when you start talking to spirit, what are you doing? You're going into the highest frequencies. You start having those conversations all day long, your frequency goes through the roof. Not with your ego, not with fear. Like when you're living in high frequency energy, you're not talking to other people in your head, right? You're not arguing with other people in your head. That's too expensive energetically. You're not complaining about what they're doing. You're not freaking giving them your power. You're talking to spirit. You're talking to the creator. You're talking to infinite intelligence. You're talking to the company of heaven. You're talking to the energy that can help you land results like this. when you are willing to listen, when you're willing to activate your power, when you're willing to be the person who always has the solution. So, no matter where you're at in your journey right now, folks, because intuitive mastery really does cater for people who are just stepping into their intuitive mastery, to their, spiritual path, but also for people who have used their intuition and they have cultivated it. There's always another level, folks. You know why? Because there's always a deeper level of trust that you can experience with the universe. Really, the spiritual pathway is polishing the diamond that is your ego, right? It's polishing it and polishing it so you sparkle, because it's only ever the ego that stops you from mainlining the information that's going to change your life. And when you choose to live beyond it, that's when everything takes off. That's when you're just like, holy cow, right? And sometimes you need help to, again, as people say, stabilize your central nervous system. But guess what, folks? When you're connected to the infinite intelligence that you are, your central nervous system's automatically stabilized. So you don't need to worry about doing that. You're already doing it because you're connected to the truth of who you are. Your body loves high vibration. Your body works optimally from high vibration. Can't tell you how many times people have stepped into my program, cured health problems. I had a woman who was numb in her legs. She could still walk, but she felt numb, right? That is impacted emotion, right? Health conditions, heart problems, shifting migraines, shifting it, because people are connected to their infinite intelligence. So the invitation, folks, is there for you. I've put the link in this video so you can go and check out Intuitive Mastery. It is my baby. I love it in the respect that it's about shifting you into insane levels of spiritual power, where you literally feel like Mickey Mouse in Fantasia because you know who you are and what you're capable of. And that certainty and conviction in spirit is going to unlock all the doors to create all your heart's desires. It all comes back to who you're choosing to be. Am I choosing to be a person who trusts spirit? Am I choosing to be a person who knows that my intuition knows the next step? Am I choosing to be a person who has enough courage to follow my intuition, to create a life where I'm experiencing more love, more joy, more abundance, higher frequencies, more intimacy, more opportunity, more resources, more travel, more of the lifestyle that I want? In my book, it's a no-brainer. If you've got questions, please feel free to message me directly. I'm more than happy to answer them. The Intuitive Mastery page that I've linked there, if you go into it, at the top there is a prospectus. It has got more information in it in regards to what's actually in the program. This is a longer term program because it takes some time to shift who you're being, right? You need to be held in a container where it's safe for you to be fully seen, because that creates transformation. And we really want to have at least 3 cycles of transformation by the time you've actually completed the program. That's why it's longer term. It's a no-brainer. Soul always wants you to expand. If you want to have a conversation with me about it, feel free. In the meantime, folks, I trust that you are choosing the infinite intelligence inside of you. Sending you lots of love, everybody. Bye for now.